It's Christmas, and we're both sitting here in very silly hats. It's a good job we're not on video.
This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and Robert Dawes.
Well, here we are, one of the last episodes of the year. and we are on video as well. This is another videoed episode of Partners in Crime. If you're on the YouTube channel, which you should be, then you can see us in all of our glory.
So I can't pretend to be Santa Claus.
No. Well, we are pretending to be Santa Claus. If you are watching on the video, you'll see we've got these very, very silly hats on.
I'm wearing my little bubble at a slightly rakish angle.
Yes, and I've moved my microphone to a less awkward angle, because last time when we did the live video, we realised that the microphone was right in front of my face and nobody could see me, which is probably a good thing, but I'm now having to kind of twist myself and contort myself slightly awkwardly so that you can hear me and see me.
Yes, this is very much you. In full Monty mode.
It is, yes. And excuse the bags under the eyes. I've had a poorly child this week.
Yes,
I've spent the week scraping vomit off the walls.
He's looking very pale and tiny Timish downstairs.
Oh yeah, he does that anyway. He does that for effect and for sympathy. But yeah, he has been quite unwell. We thought we were over it, and then 1:30 this morning, we were woken by the now familiar sounds of vomit hitting the walls.
Well, thank goodness if it's got to happen. Thank goodness it's now and not next week.
Yes, very true. Yes, Christmas is coming up. We're feeling quite Christmassy.
We are. I'm in full Christmas spirit. The trees are up, the lights are up, presents are wrapped on the whole, and I'm
what have you wrapped them there for?
and I had a very Christmassy weekend last Christmas as well.
Yeah.
Yes, on Thursday. It's nothing to do with crime at all, but there we are. This is us.
Neither's this podcast.
Going off piste. Not for the first time this week. Yes, on Thursday I got a phone call from Chetham's music school in Manchester, which is the premier music academy of the north, from Stephen Threlfall, David Threlfall's brother, who is the director there, and a wonderful man, brilliant musician. And unfortunately, the great Mr. Timothy West was going to be playing Scrooge in a massive big concert with the Chester Philharmonic and choirs and goodness knows what else in the school's brand new 1.8 million, I think it cost, concert hall, the Stoller Hall. But unfortunately, Tim had been in for a slight operation a few days before and was indisposed. So he's now on the mend, I believe, and we've wished him well. But they were an act short.
And you're his official stand-in,
and I could never stand in those fine shoes. I mean, apart from the acting, I'd be absolutely hopeless at actually skippering longboats down Britain's canals. I mean, I'd be bashing into everything. But so yes, I got on a train Friday and went up and did Neil Brand's brilliant musical adaptation of A Christmas Carol, which was originally done on radio a couple of years ago with Bob Powell playing Scrooge. And we had a wonderful time. So that got us very much in the Christmas spirit.
And that's a lovely venue as well. I did a talk in there
of course you did.
A couple of weeks back, actually, up at the Society of Authors. And
there was a plaque on the wall commemorating your visit to the...
Yes, I think it's probably a picture saying, don't let this man back on this stage.
Most wanted posters on the stage.
It's a superb place, and it's a lovely building. I didn't realise it was that new. But
well, it is new, but it was a whole... I walked past it for years because it's right across the arena and next to Victoria Station, and it's been a hole in the ground for years and years and years. And this billionaire philanthropist turned up one day, I believe, Stoller, his name is, and said, "Look, I think you could do with some good fortune." I mean, not quite going, here's 1.8 million pounds, build a concert. But anyway, he did do that, and there it is, and it's a beautiful building, acoustically stunning, all wooden clad and in the modern manner, and is a great addition to Manchester's blossoming venue list of extraordinary theatres, concert halls, and cinemas and clubs.
Next step,
and what have you.
across the road to the Manchester Arena.
Well, yes, I don't think my Scrooge could fill the arena.
No, I don't think they've got any tickets left anyway, so you're out of luck.
Yes, well, I can. Who was on it? Who was on? I think last week. I can't remember. Kylie Minogue's on soon, so I can see myself with Kylie.
Yes, can't we all?
But that's an entirely different conversation.
Well, I've been actually managing to watch some TV. I had to take some time off and sit in front of the telly doing not a lot else, but with sick children. And I've managed to get around to starting 2 series, finishing one of them. One of them was a mini-series, Mrs. Wilson.
Yes,
Is,
Ruth Wilson's
it's a brilliant
family story.
series. It's the story of Alexander Wilson, who was an MI5 spy, which his family only knew about after he died. He died, and all of a sudden, all these things start coming out of the woodwork. The fact that he was an MI5 spy, the fact that he had another wife. Came out, and he had other families knocking around in different places, and it's an extraordinary story. What's even more extraordinary is the fact that Ruth Wilson, his granddaughter, plays her own grandmother in this, which is very, very weird, because she's holding her baby dad in her own arms at one point, and I'm watching that thinking, that must be such a strange sensation to be playing your own grandmother and finding your own grandfather attractive. Must be a very weird place to put yourself in.
Very weird. A bit like what's an equivalent, I suppose? Prince Harry playing the Duke of Edinburgh.
Yeah. And having to find the Queen attractive.
Yeah. Well, each to their own.
Well, indeed. Yeah, maybe he's. Maybe he does.
But was it any good?
It was. Yeah, it was. It's. I could see why it was 3 episodes and not a full 6-parter, and it at some points I thought maybe it should have been 2, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. It's certainly with that different angle on it. The fact that Ruth Wilson playing the lead part had that personal link to it. That's always at the back of my mind. That's what made me watch it. I saw this article about it. I really enjoyed it.
And she's a great actress, isn't she?
She's superb, absolutely superb. Yeah, everyone in it is.
So that's just called Mrs. Wilson.
Called Mrs. Wilson. Yes, it's on the BBC iPlayer, I believe.
Not to be confused with The Life of Harold.
No.
Harold Wilson,
which is also very interesting and also involves MI5, but not in quite the same way.
No. Well, very marvellous. Well, I will catch it. It's on Catch Up, as you say, or Catch Up, as I call it.
That's how I watched it. I believe it's still there.
Right, well, glasses going on, everyone. There we are. I must stop doing that. I've been doing it all week.
Christmas.
It is, okay, yes.
Do you know what? I'm going to put some sleigh bells over the theme music this week.
Are you really? Oh, God,
I mean, anyone
can
listening
the
to
budget
this
run to that?
Well, I think so, yeah. I mean, anyone listening to this would have already heard them, of course. That won't be any surprise to you. But just so you know, the theme tune goes on after recording. And I've just decided now, in the middle of the episode, I'm going to do that.
This is how away we are. We don't care, do we?
All smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Christmas started really with the Christmas tree going up last week. But the real official start for Christmas in our family household is sitting around and watching Elf, which is my favourite Christmas film. I mean, there are lots of them.
Has that happened yet?
I mean, look, we're doing our best impression of Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye, aren't we? In a way, at Christmas, I don't think we're quite pulling it off. And
I think we're more Danny Dyer.
Yeah, well, I don't know what your singing and dances is like, but I know what mine is. But anyway, so here I've got some recommendations now, and I've got them down here. See, I do my homework, as do you. There's a pad full of notes down here.
I'm still off the cuff.
Yes, well, yeah. So carefully prepared, off the cuffness is what we try to do. It right now. It's Christmas, so I thought, well, let's look around and see what there is. If you're reading crime, mysteries, murder, and what have you at Christmas, if you feel so inclined, and let's face it, millions of people do, what would you be reading? So I thought, let's take a look at the omnibuses. Let's take a look at the short form, the short story. And there are several to recommend. The first one is The Big Book of Christmas Mysteries, edited by Otto Penzler. Otto Penzler sounds like a character from a John Buchan novel, doesn't he?
Sounds like a Bond villain.
He does a little bit. Welcome, my name is Otto Penzler, Mr. Bond. Oh dear, I must stop doing funny voices, but I suppose I've been doing it for a profession for the last 42 years, so it's very hard to stop. It goes with the twitch.
Beat me to it.
I'm learning. Anyway, the big book of Christmas mysteries, festive felonies, unscrupulous Santas, deadly puddings and misdemeanours under the mistletoe. From Victorian detective stories to modern mysteries, police procedurals to pulp fiction, comic gems to cosy crime. There's something for every festive mood in this must-read collection starring 60 of the world's favourite detectives. 60! No wonder it's called the Big Book of Christmas Mysteries, featuring an all-star cast of authors, including Isaac Asimov. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Who we have? Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm sure people have heard of him.
Never heard of him.
G.K. Chesterton, Colin Dexter, H.R.F. Keating, Naomi Marsh, John Mortimer, Ellis Peters. Anyway, it goes on and on and on and on. And the last name, of course, Agatha Christie. This is the biggest and best Christmas crime anthology in print today, it proudly announces. Let's take one review from the Times. Some famous names appear, as do quite a few writers unknown or unjustly forgotten, and there are many gems. This is not a literary meal to be consumed too quickly. A diet of 4 stories a day is suggested. So that was on the Times Books of the Year. So that's the first anthology. We have another one coming up fast on that, which is Murder Under the Christmas Tree, edited by Cecily Gaylord. Great name.
Yeah,
Now, short stories by Ian Rankin, the great Ian Rankin, the wonderful Val McDermid. We have Marjorie Allingham, Arthur Conan Doyle, again very popular this time of year. Ellis Peters, Dorothy L. Sayers. A locked room mystery solved with a flourish on Boxing Day. Blackmail on Christmas Eve. A missing jewel discovered in a very festive hiding place. A body slumped in a chair on Christmas morning, still listening to carols. The midnight theft of a gift intended for a saint. Crime doesn't take a holiday, so these and many more are the puzzles that make up Murder Under the Christmas Tree. There we are, and you've got Lord Peter Wimsey, Sherlock Holmes, Cadfael, Father Brown, and many, many more. And so these books, I must say, are available to be downloaded from a certain company.
Are they?
And I've forgotten what's the name of that company now.
Well, you could try looking at Kobo.
Thank you.
That would be a good way to start.
My living, breathing aid memoir.
Yeah, head over to kobo.com, and if any of these books tickle your fancy, if you enter the promo code CRIME at the checkout, those lovely people would give you a very festive, all year round 90% off.
And a mince pie. No, I just made that up.
Yeah.
Silence.
I was trying to think of a mince pie joke, but I don't have many in my repertoire.
We leave a pause there as people can start rushing to the Kobo website to actually download the big book of Christmas mysteries.
You go now. We'll wait for you.
Yeah, we'll just have a little pause and have a cup of coffee and talk amongst ourselves.
Wait for you to come back.
Okay. And I've got another one there to add to that, which is Silent Nights, edited by Martin Edwards. Christmas mysteries, much the same. Another wonderful bumper book of different stories. So there's no excuse if you actually want to delve in. You can. It's a veritable pick and mix, as Woolworths used to pride itself in its sweet department. You go in there and you pick the murder mysteries and the authors and the detectives that you want to read in shorter form, and hopefully have an awful lot of fun. So that's my book recommendations. I have others, but I pass the baton to you.
Well, no, I just saw the title of the next one that was coming up. That was going to be my Christmas recommendation.
Oh, well,
just to show how much planning goes into this. We don't meet or talk about what we're going to talk about beforehand. We never have done.
Okay.
I was going to mention that one, but
what has the famous 5 Go Cruising got to do with Christmas books? Well, you take that one, because I've got something else coming out under that, which will segue quite nicely, I think.
The obvious one that jumps into mind when you're talking about Christmas is Hercule Poirot's Christmas by Agatha Christie. I noticed there that not only do we have Hercule Poirot's Christmas, not only is it available on Kobo audiobooks, but it's read by Partners in Crime's very own dear friend Hugh Fraser.
An Agatha Christie expert.
Yes, and restaurant critic.
And restaurant critic par excellence.
Yes. Shall I read it?
Yes, why don't you? You don't need glasses.
I don't.
So much younger than me.
I do, but I need them once they get to about there rather than there. So. Tyrannical millionaire Simeon Lee has been estranged from most of his family for years, but now, on Christmas Eve, the old man calls them all together once more. Unable to disobey, the children gather uneasily and wonder what their father's intentions are. Does he want to clear up past misunderstandings or cause fresh fresh mischief. That's not a very easy thing to say, is it?
It's not fresh mischief.
Fresh mischief.
Mischief, chef.
Before they can find out, a deafening crash is heard overhead. Rushing upstairs, they discover a shocking sight. Simeon Lee is lying in a pool of blood, his throat cut. But it is the strangest thing. The door has been locked from the inside, and there is no trace of the murderer. With so many suspects and sound effects, it is lucky for Superintendent Sugden that the Chief Constable has his old friend Hercule Poirot staying with him. It seems to be an impossible case, but as Poirot knows only too well, things aren't always as they seem.
Dum, dum, dum. 10 to 2.
So a lovely a locked room mystery.
Well, there we are. I mean,
Christmas.
that's a classic Hercule Poirot for Christmas, and read, of course, by Hugh Fraser. I mean, Hercule Poirot has been... I'm going to move on to my next recommendation.
I was just going to say about Hugh, actually, for those who are perhaps new listeners or aren't aware, Hugh Fraser played Captain Hastings in the ITV series of Poirot. So
with David Suchet.
Yeah. And a lot of the Poirot books are from Captain Hastings' point of view. I don't know if Hercule Poirot's Christmas is, I don't recall, but if it is, then that would make sense for Hugh to narrate it, wouldn't it?
Well, Hugh has narrated not just the Poirot books, he's narrated lots of standalone Agatha Christie's. I don't think he's done Miss Marple for obvious reasons, but there's no reason why he couldn't.
Yeah. Wear tight trousers that day.
He's a very versatile actor. But anyway, so one of the big Christmas look-forwards to... Can you say look forwards to? I don't think you
just
can,
did.
But I just did it, and I don't care. I'm taking Christmas licence on that one. Is the... Well, I think it's Hugh's favourite Poirot story. In fact, he's told us it is the ABC Murders, which have been adapted by the BBC for a Christmas showing this year. The adaptation is by Sarah Phelps, who has been doing these hugely successful adaptations for the BBC since 2015, when her first one was And Then There Were None, whereas, what was the second one? The Witness for the Prosecution, which was absolutely splendid, and last year's Ordeal by Innocence. So this is her fourth outing, and this year they are doing the ABC Murders, and Hercule Poirot is being played by the great American actor John Malkovich. So I'm going to read a little bit now. This is from Den of Geek, who've actually given a little bit of information about it. The name Hercule Poirot immediately conjures the unforgettable image of David Suchet, who between 1989 and 2013 embodied the Belgian detective in ITV's adaptation of every one of the 70 novels and short stories in which the character appeared. Other Poirots include Peter Ustinov, Albert Finney, and of course most recently Kenneth Branagh. They've all put their own stamp on Christie's unforgettable creation. The BBC's new version of the ABC Murders will allow John Malkovich to leave his own impression on a fascinating figure we think we know inside out, with an impressive cast including Andrew Buchan, Tara Fitzgerald, Shirley Henderson and Rupert Grint, the wonderful Rupert Grint, who I worked with last year in Sick Note for Sky Television, and I enjoyed very much nearly chopping his head off with a samurai sword. The sort of things I do in the day job. So putting an innovative spin on the story and the character is director Alex Gabassi. And it's quite interesting, I think, really, what the costume designer, let's go to another department, has to say about it. Lindsay Pugh worked hard on the visual elements that went into defining this new portrayal. We know Poirot very well. He started off as a written word, then Ustinov came along, and then David Suchet. That's informed our opinion of him, but still we have our own image of Poirot in our mind's eye. I wanted him to be the pencil that draws a line between the many places we visit in the ABC Murders. So, I mean, a lot of thought goes into these sorts of things.
And no moustache.
And no moustache, unlike the Branagh version, which was like a blooming walrus.
Very much a moustache, yeah.
I mean, an extraordinary moustache. I tried growing one that size recently. I mean, believe me, it wasn't happening, man. The Poirot we meet in ABC Murders is still trading on his past glories, but his fortunes are fading. Gabassi wanted the surroundings to reflect this. When we look back at the 1930s, we usually look back at Art Deco. The trains are all clean. Everything's very nice. I wanted this version to look dirty. Pugh appreciated the challenge of conveying the class stratification of 1930s British society through costume, as Christie's story jumps from one destination to another. We go from really high class to really low class and everything in between. Different parts of the country, different industries and different demographics. So it's going to be quite an interesting adaptation. I mean, the advance word on it is that it's going to be terrific. The producer, Farah Abushwesha, echoes this sentiment.
Can you say that again?
Farah Abushwesha.
Very good.
Yes, that's.
You've been practicing that, haven't you?
It's a great name.
It is, yeah.
Echoes this sentiment, summing up the timeless appeal of the Christie story while highlighting its parallels in modern society. This holy grail of the Agatha Christie stories. There's something that is so quintessentially British. We take it, we sweep it up, and we see a vulnerability and a heart to it. And we see these people in the aftermath of murder and death and loss. Added to the simple fact of being an outsider in another country, you feel it sometimes with a script. There are certain projects that have a magic to them, and you just want to unleash that. Dark, distinctive, and decidedly modern in flavour. Christie, never the biggest Poirot fan herself, would have approved. So that's going to be, and of course, none of those mention other great Poirots. One of my favourites, of course, was the BBC Radio's John Moffat. Again, who I had the pleasure of doing Death on the Nile, playing Poirot, and he was magnificent, and he did, I think, every Poirot story for BBC Radio. So it's not all the visual, of course. I mean, you can get those on the BBC, or you can listen to Hugh reading the Poirot stories, or you can tune in to see the brand new John Malkovich, who was an extraordinary actor. I saw him in 1982 on Broadway doing True West, which actually has got another outing.
Or 4BC.
The 4BC.
Before Croft.
Before Croft. Were you not born in 1982?
No, I wasn't. No, I was born in 86.
Well, sometime in the middle of the last century, Adam, I visited the United States of America, and I saw him on Broadway doing this, and I'm going to ask a question in a second, doing True West, which is a play by Sam Shepard, which is currently enjoying a West End production. Now, but I saw it off Broadway and I had no idea what I was going to see. I'd done a Sam Shepard play at drama school, which I have to say I didn't understand a word of, but we did it anyway. So I was sort of dreading going to see this, and it was one of the most electric evenings in theatre I've ever seen. Malkovich was just extraordinary. It's a four-hander actually, but it's predominantly about two brothers who sort of don't get on. Is the way of putting it mildly. But here's the question: what connects the actor John Malkovich with CSI? Some people out there may know. If they know their Broadway theatre history, and they also know their television history, and they know their crime stuff, they may know. It's not an easy one.
I'll be honest, I don't know much about him or CSI or Broadway, so I'm probably going to struggle.
Okay. What about Broadmoor?
A bit more about that.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's an unfair question, really, because it's quite elite. His co-star, John Malkovich's co-star in the 1982 production of True West, which had come from Steppenwolf Theatre in Chicago, for people who like these little snippets of information, was an actor called Gary Sinise, who is the leading actor in one of the CSI franchises,
right, okay.
And a very fine actor.
There's no way I would have got that, because I've never heard of him.
Let's face it, let's be honest, there's no way anyone listening to this would have got that. Or maybe someone out there
I'm
has.
not sure it's even that interesting.
Listen, I never presume to suggest that anything I say is interesting. Not at all. But it's a sort of thing that pleases me to make a connection like that, but I guess. So
the ABC Murder starts 9 o'clock on BBC One on Boxing Day.
Yes, that's one way of shutting me up. I have to say that, I think that's quite interesting. A Poirot versus a head of CSI. You know, when I was watching it, I never thought I'd be able to say that 40-odd years later.
No, true. That's true. In terms of TV, it's not strictly crime, although there are crimes involved. I have a new TV obsession.
Yes.
I accidentally stumbled across... I mean, everyone's going to go, how did you not watch this 5 years ago, or how long it was when it actually aired? But I stumbled across Borgen for the first time.
Oh, you are kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
I used to bang on about that.
Did you?
Yes.
On here?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, mind you did do what you've just done about my John Malkovich story. The eyes sort of go slightly glassy and...
Well, we had this last week with The Sinner, didn't we? The Petra
your breathing
Hammersmark
gets
book
slower and
yeah.
heavier and
Reach for the coffee.
Borgen, I think it's one of the great TV
Oh,
series.
it's superb.
I mean, nothing to do with crime per se, unless, of course...
There are crimes involved.
There are crimes involved.
There are crimes
Yes,
involved. It's for those who somehow, like me, have been living under a rock for the last few years. It's the protagonist is a lady whose name I'm not even going to pretend I can pronounce, but I think it's somewhere along the lines of a Budget Neuborg, something like that.
I didn't say anything because I just wanted to see Eva go.
But, shut up.
Get your turkey here at Budget Neuburg.
Or Budget Drybirds. If it was a really bad turkey.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
She's brilliant, isn't she?
Oh, she's superb. She is the leader of the moderate party in Denmark, in Borgen, and she somehow, through various different quirks of government, ends up becoming the Prime Minister. And
happens all the time over here.
well, yeah, it actually truly does, and it's brilliant. If you describe it to somebody, so it's about a Danish politician, they'll go, "Why do I want to watch that?" But I stumbled across it accidentally. In fact, I was watching it on my phone overnight while I was in between bouts of child vomit. I was watching Borgen, and it's brilliant. I love it, and I've bought the whole Blu-ray box set now, which is can sit nicely alongside Spiral and my new Blu-ray player and new TV cabinet that I had to buy in order to watch one episode of Spiral.
Here we go. Will I ever be allowed? It's like the French box set, the ghost of French box sets past, revisiting me every day.
But no, there's a nice Danish box set sitting alongside it.
It's addictive. I mean, the Borgen is absolutely brilliant. It's. I mean, you just can't stop watching it. You're obviously saying that. And it's quite interesting in these troubled political times we live in on both sides of the Atlantic that she becomes Prime Minister in Denmark. Now, what people don't seem to understand is an awful lot of European countries have a normal state of coalition government, something that was tried recently over here fairly unsuccessfully because we are predominantly known as, they've got the two big parties and the smaller parties, and coalitions simply don't seem to happen. But coalition government is pretty much a rule of thumb for many European countries. So one of the reasons that she comes to power is that, in actual fact, it's not just her party fighting one party. Her party is fighting about 6 or 7 others are all fighting to just create a government. So it's fascinating, even from that point of view, because you just see how politics can work. And there has been thought in the UK, not wanting to talk politics, I'll be on to religion any second now, but politics in this country, that a coalition of the finest minds and thoughts would probably be far better than this one first past the post sort of system and this all or nothing at all situation, which is on one level why we're in this strange predicament that we are.
We do know about coalitions now. It was a really alien thing we'd never really had, but I said between 2010 and 2015 we did have one, so we kind of know how they work now. So when I was watching Borgen, I thought actually you wouldn't have to do a whole lot to adapt that for British TV. If you wanted to do a British version of it, you only really need to change the names, because they've got the same kind of system with a monarch and a parliamentary system underneath that, and lots of things with the dominant red top smearing all the politicians left, right, and centre and making things up when they want to. There's a huge number of parallels between the UK and Denmark.
Well, there are now,
regard.
and they haven't really been there before. I mean, you can actually see, although it's very unlikely to happen, you can actually see in this country that you'd have the sort of the Labour, the SNP, the Liberal Party, whatever, all having to form some form of government, to topple a Conservative government, if that was what the situation became about. Certainly
Why
in
would they want to
Brexit
do that? They're doing so well at the moment.
Listen, let's not get into Brexit, because let's face it, anyone who's lived, all our listeners abroad, I mean, I'm sure you're totally up to date with the perilous state of British politics and where we are at this moment in time.
Between bouts of laughter.
Or if you're far more sensible, you'll be burying your head in the sand and reading a good crime novel instead. But that's interesting. It's Borgen. There are crimes in it, as we've always said. The umbrella of this show is wide, so long as it's got a crime in it, even if it's just getting a parking ticket. We will actually review it and recommend it if we think it's any good.
Well, yeah, and it gives us something to fill our half an hour-ish with. I've also been reading this week. I'm 6 chapters into a Nicky French book that I bought a long time ago called Sunday Morning Coming Down.
Sunday morning. That's a good title, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Do you know what? I A, don't get a lot of time to read, and B, when I do, tend to pick up my usual kinds of things. So I said to my wife, look, I mean, we've got bookcases literally in every room of the house. They're absolutely everywhere. So I said to her, can you do me a favour? Can you go into a room in the house and go to a bookcase and get a book for me? So it doesn't matter what it is, whatever you pick, I will read it next. And funnily enough, she actually did pick one, which is the sort of thing I would have picked myself. So as an experiment, perhaps didn't work in that sense. Sweet. But yes, I'm reading it, and I'm going to do that now with all my books from now on, because I buy things on a whim, and I think, oh yeah, I might want to read about about 14th century Himalayan mountain tribes at some point, and then inevitably never actually do. So that's going to be my new thing now. I'm going to say to her, can you pick my next book for me, almost at random.
Well, that's ruined my Christmas present here.
Well, oh no, you weren't going to get me the Himalayan book, were you?
All 3 of them.
Oh, the trilogy.
So anyway, what are you doing for Christmas?
I am family things. We've got things most days actually. I've got family here. I'm going to family. It's a whole week. We've also got a wedding next week as well to go to. So there's
Who
lots
gets married at Christmas? As if no disrespect, I'm sure
two close friends of mine. So careful.
Yeah, I mean, for goodness sake, as if there wasn't enough going on.
Yeah, well, they did let us know a good few months ago, to be fair. So.
Oh no, I'm not criticising them, but I am a bit.
And do you know what? In a 3-piece suit, a wedding in December makes far more sense than one in the middle of August.
Yes.
I went to a wedding in late July when we had this, the big heat wave we had this year. And even though it was in Yorkshire, so it was a little bit cooler, it was still absolutely stifling. Yeah. And in a big heavy suit, it was.
Are you saying that you whenever you see a picture of someone getting married on a Caribbean beach in a full 3-piece suit, trousers rolled up to their knees,
they tend to go for linen?
Well, you can still sweat in linen.
Not my cheap Burton's polyester.
Many of my happiest memories of me sweating in linen.
And mine, Bob, and mine.
It's a very popular material for stage costumes. But no, that's interesting. Well,
and yourself, what have you got planned? I know you're very much about the big family Christmases.
Yeah, we've got extraordinarily busy Christmas, like yourself. I think we've got a Christmas party every night to go to, and that's before the family arrive. So the family arrive: mums, dads, brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, sister-in-laws, brother-in-laws, the full lot. So mind you, I'm saying that on Christmas Day it's a bit quieter this year. We've only got about 15 for Christmas dinner as opposed to the usual nearly 30. But the people who aren't actually sitting down at Christmas dinner will be with us for a sherry and a little piece of salmon and a mince pie in the morning, and back for Boxing Day for a karaoke Christmas sing-along, which has become something of a tradition in our household.
Do keep the noise down, won't you?
Well, one of the nice things about living in a detached house is that you don't have to. So what we tend to do is just open all the windows so the neighbours can actually hear us at full throttle. But so no, a very jolly Christmas. We've my brother-in-law Ted's in pantomime in Stockport, giving his pantomime Dame.
Big up Stockport.
Of which he is at the Plaza. If you're living in that particular region or wish to see a fantastic first-rate pantomime, then go and see Ted Robbins. And Claire King is his co-star in, I think it's either Mother Goose or Dick Whittington or Aladdin or Cinderella.
Well, that is all the pantomimes, so it probably is one of those.
Or Babes in the Woods. It is one of those, I've forgotten, but either way, he is playing a Dame. They all look the same to me. But he's playing a Dame, and he will be wonderful. So, yes, so I suppose it's time to say Happy Christmas to all our listeners.
Yes.
And thank you for staying with us and joining us over this year.
Yes, I mean, the likelihood is it might not be Friday next week the episode goes out. It might be slightly later. It depends when we actually manage to get an hour together to record it. But
Yes.
There will be another episode this year, and it will come out at some point before New Year's Eve.
But thank you for listening, wherever you are, from Stockport to Tobago to New Zealand to Australia to is it Azerbaijan or Uzbekistan?
Definitely Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan, if you're listening in Uzbekistan, Merry Christmas. And we really do value the time you put aside to listen to us rambling on and listen to our crime
You're all
murder
mad,
mysteries.
but we love you for it.
Yes, we certainly do. So on behalf of, well, I'm not going to speak for him, he's going to say his own Merry Christmas. But from me, Bob, have a Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas, you all. And I'll be saying Happy New Year in our next episode before the new year starts. Merry Christmas, everyone.
What he said.
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft and Robert Dawes and produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Beisch. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, Defected.